heading down to Memphis for the Continental Wrestling Association, owned and operated by Jerry Jarrett. A very big problem for all the baby faces in Memphis is Jimmy Hart and his very large stable. They are called the First Family, and Jimmy Hart manages the many men in this group. Like other managers in other territories, Jimmy Hart would sometimes wrestle too.
Well, the First Family head is really pumped up today. Dennis Upton coming in there. Jimmy being pumped up.
Wait a minute, the man is too tall. He's 7'8" right now. You get out on your knees and I guarantee I'll beat him.
He's down on him.
He still looks tall. Oh, that's what I'll kill him now.
Hart going. Oh, Upton rolled out of the way and Hart missed. Here comes Upton chasing him. Hart back in. Well, I can tell you, hands down. Forget catching Jimmy Hart. Hart catches him coming through the ring rope.
He would usually get help from his men to win the matches, like here with the Iranian assassin.
Dennis Upton throws Hart off and right into referee Jerry Calhoun. Upton covers him. Here comes the Iranian assassin. Climbs up on the rope. Back. Places Hart on top. You see it all happening. Referee Jerry Calhoun, who was knocked flat backwards when Hart was shoved into him. Count of 3. Hart staggering around.
One of the First Family's main goals is to get the Southern Tag Team Championships off of Bill Dundee and Steve Keirn. Dundee, a popular Australian wrestler in the territory, already has a history with Jimmy Hart by this point, and he wants a match against him. Jimmy Hart, acting big and bad, accepted the match on one stipulation: that it would be right before Dundee also had a match with Super Destroyer, so Hart could rough Dundee up for Super Destroyer. Dundee thought that was a joke, but Hart did have a plan. During the match, Jimmy Hart did a lot of running.
Dundee chasing Hart.
He did a lot of cheating too.
Dundee chased him under the ring. Hart just sitting down under the middle of the ring. Hart comes up with powder. Hart snuck back up out from under the ring, and Hart threw that powder in Dundee's eyes. Now he's pounding and kicking on him. Steve Keirn at ringside hollering for his partner. Come on, come on. Cuban and the Iranian assassin were sent away from the ring.
But it all broke down when the First Family interfered.
Kern catches the Cuban assassin as he comes in. Dundee working on Hart. Here comes Ali Hassan, the Iranian assassin.
And during the attack on Dundee and his partner Kern, one of the assassins shot a fireball at Steve Keirn and burned him up.
It'll be a disqualification. Hassan pulls out a chain, nails Dundee.
After the First Family beat on Dundee and Kern, the match between Dundee and Super Destroyer immediately started.
They got Steve in the chest and on the shoulder, it looks like. And now the added match, I assume, is starting.
It was a 2 out of 3 falls match between Super Destroyer and Bill Dundee, and Super Destroyer easily got fall number 1.
10 minutes. Just sticks that big foot up there. Drops Dundee. Okay, there's a 30-second rest period.
But Dundee would implement a Jimmy Hart-like tactic during fall number 2 and just tried to avoid the loss.
Rest period up, and Dundee stumbling around the ring. Dundee fighting any way he can. to go. Dundee slips in through the ring. The referee counting a 10, so Billy has to get back in. And he missed the big elbow that would have finished it. Super Destroyer covered with Dundee's blood himself.
Dundee would be successful running out the time limit. Thus, Super Destroyer did not get an official win over him because he didn't get 2 falls.
Are we supposed to be scared? Are we supposed to have a heart attack? Dundee and Kern back together? Oh, please, I love it. You know what I'm upset about, though? Because we should have had a championship match. You know, it's really amazing to me what Eddie Marlin does for these guys. They ride up down the rows together. They go, we can't win because Hart interferes. Hart doesn't interfere. Hart's been handcuffed to a ring lately. Hart's been strapped with belts, hung upside down. Everything's happened to Jimmy Hart, but nothing's happened to Bill Dundee. But something happened to Steve Keirn.
You know, being burned is one of the most painful things that's ever happened to me. And I spent one of the most miserable Christmases I've ever had because it was uncomfortable. I couldn't sleep on my belly. You know, I had to sleep on my back every night. And every morning when I woke up after a restless night, I'd think about you and your goons. Well, your assassins were directed by you. There was nobody in control of them but you. You're the one that told them to burn me. And I'm going to tell you this. You know, I'm coming back. And Superstar and myself have got a match with you, your 2 goons. And it's going to be a wrestling match, but it's going to be a different wrestling match. It's going to be one of the worst matches they've ever had because I personally am going to make sure that, I'll tell you this, Jimmy Hart, you might have thought it was smart to try to burn me, and they might have been trying to burn me in the face. Luckily for me, I was just burned in the chest, but I'll say this, after the next time we meet, you'll never do nothing to me again, Jimmy Hart.
Maybe denying it, but Steve Kern's not believing it and Bill Dundee's not believing it. So I hope to bring fire, I hope to bring chains, I hope you bring everything you can muster up, Hart, because we're not coming to wrestle, Daddy, we're coming to fight you. And whatever it takes, we're going to win it. We'll see you on Sunday night.
The assassins, who were made up of the Iranian assassin and the Cuban assassin, would try to get the tag titles away from Dundee and Kern for Jimmy Hart, but would not be able to do so. During Jimmy Hart's quest for the Southern Tag Team titles, he and his men would also feud with the Gibson brothers, Ricky and Robert Gibson. There would be a 6-man tag match with the Gibsons and Tojo Yamamoto taking on the first family members Stan Lane, Robert Gibson, and Sweet Brown Sugar. No, not the same Sweet Brown Sugar from Florida Championship Wrestling. The Sweet Brown Sugar in Memphis was Coco Beware. Hart would try to hurt Robert Gibson during this match, and that would lead to a brawl.
Oh, Hart. Hey! Jimmy Hart pulling down the rope. And Robert Gibson went over the top rope. That is disqualification on the first family team.
But soon, there would be some dissension within the first family that would lead to Stan Lane leaving the stable. Jimmy Hart did not take a liking to that and would set Stan Lane up in singles matches against members of the first family. First up was Speed of the first family.
This Stan's there waiting for it. Hey,
Oh,
there's
there
a
it
high
is.
kick by Stan Lane. The figure 4.
Just as Lane was about to beat Speed, Hart sent out the assassins to attack him, leading to a DQ.
Look out, the Iranian assassin. That's going to be the match. Disqualification. Stan Lane battling the Iranian assassin. Here comes the Cuban in there now. Now Jimmy Hart climbs in the ring. And a large part of the first family.
The assassins and Hart beat on Stan Lane until Bill Dundee made the save.
Here comes help. Steve Kern, Bill Dundee. They run him out of here, except for Hart. Hart trapped in a corner. Lane's got him. He nails him with a right. Kenny James jumps in, grabs Stan Lane, get him off of Jimmy Hart.
Stan Lane would then take on Nightmare from the first family and win that match.
Here's that kick. Lane hooks it down. 1, 2, 3.
But despite the first family already being huge, Jimmy Hart would just keep adding to it. First with a big man named the Monk, and then he would give a makeover to a country boy named Kenny Shane. Jimmy Hart would go so far as to throw a party for the First family.
Jimmy. Oh, it's a gala celebration.
Party City, baby. We feel great today because we're celebrating our newest member to the First family right here, Kenny Shane, baby.
Shane.
Come on over here, Russell. Come over here, man. Come on. Kenny Shane, who is the greatest man in professional wrestling.
You, Jimmy Hart, you, baby.
Who is the greatest man, baby?
Jimmy Hart,
Look there, man. You know what? Kenny Shane, you know when I saw Kenny Shane several weeks ago, this man saved my life. He showed me a lot of class. Now, as you can see, I've tried to dress him up a little bit because he was just a little redneck, but I've got that out of him. Hadn't I, Kenny, baby?
You got it, Jimmy.
Am
You
I
got
number
it,
one,
baby.
brother?
You number one. All right.
You know, Russell, a lot of things have happened to professional wrestling to Jimmy Hart, but he's been able to overcome them. Why? Because of my mind. Because, you know, when I put things together, like all of my men right here, I have the greatest entourage of professional athletes in the world, and I have a lot more people coming. Right, beautiful?
Dundee and Kern would interrupt, and Stan Lane would sneak up and get Jimmy Hart good.
Guys, no trouble now, Bill and Steve. Come on.
You can't join anything, man. You don't even have the same class.
It's my party.
Jimmy Hart's face right in that cake. Just a little celebration. Come on.
The First family goes on to jump Stan Lane, Steve Keirn, and Bill Dundee.
Bill Dundee back in. There's a cover. Brown Sugar from behind. Plants the foot in the back. Broke the cover. Look out. It comes Jimmy Hart, Bobby Eaton, all the First family. But boy, we got a ring full as Hart and the rest of the First family came out here. Jumped Steve Keirn, Bill Dundee, and Stan Lane.
You stole my money from me, just one guy, and I put your ugly face in that cake. I don't want the whole First family involved in this. I don't even want my friends involved in this. I want you and me, Hart, but you know something, Lance? I know the guy hadn't got guts enough to sign a one-on-one contest with me. So I'll tell you what I'll do, Jimmy. You wimp-fisted little wimp. I'll take on both you and your little stooge. That country, nothing happening to Buffy. You and Shane. Sign the match, Hart, because I'm ready.
Stan Lane wants a match with Jimmy Hart, but Jimmy wants a hilarious stipulation.
And I'm making you a challenge right now. If you have got enough guts to accept it, Stan Lane, and I say you don't. Me and the First family against you, brother. Have you got enough guts to accept it? I say you don't. I say you don't. Come on, baby. Who's got guts? Come on, who's got guts, man?
You need the whole family against Stan Lane.
I'm going to get you myself, boy.
He practically wants a 10-on-1 match. Another strong entity in the CWA is the Midnight Express. The Midnight Express is made up of the original tag team of Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose, and had added Norvell Austin as a third member of the group a year before. The Midnight Express is feuding with the Gibson brothers at the start of the winter of 1982. After Randy Rose won a battle royal, he and the rest of the Midnight Express would beat on Ricky Gibson.
And the winner in 12 minutes, 10 seconds is declared to be Randy Rose. Randy Rose.
Dennis Condrey picks up Rick Gibson, slams him into the turnbuckle. Randy Rose ties it around. There now, Norvell Austin is tying Gibson to the ring turnbuckle. The Midnight Express working on Rick Gibson. And they certainly deserve a fine because the referees have been abused.
Robert Gibson would try to make the save on his brother, but the numbers game would lead to his beatdown too.
Robert Gibson coming back out to help his brother. Rick is tied into the rope. Robert up in the ring finally, and he's scrambling with the Midnight Express.
Here it goes.
While Condrey and Rose were busy with the Gibsons, Norvell Austin would be busy getting under Steve Keirn's skin.
Steve, you got it. A single match with Norvell.
Well, I've been waiting for 5 weeks for this, Lance, and I'm going to tell you right now, basically, I'm a wrestler. When I go into a wrestling match, I go in to pin a man's shoulders, but this time it's different. Norvell Austin, you've backed yourself into a corner, and you're looking at your future sitting right here. I'm not coming to wrestle you. This match may not go long, and anybody there is going to remember this match for a long time. You're going to be telling your kids about this, because after this match is over, there's going to be somebody left laying bloody, and it ain't going to be Steve Keirn. You're going to be looking up at him and wishing you'd never opened your big mouth.
During the match, though, Norvell used a chain to hit Keirn with and get DQ'd. This, of course, upset Keirn and made him want a rematch with Norvell even more.
I had the impression that you may have gone in there a little over-anxious on Norvell.
Well, maybe you're right, Lance. Maybe that's exactly what happened. But I came at Norvell with everything I had. But Norvell, you had to change. Just remember this. I took your best shot. I took all of them, and you couldn't stop me. So you know what that means? I got it in my mind how much I am over you, brother. I know how much confidence I've got over you now because I took everything you had to give, chain and all. Well, I just like to know, what I have to do to get another match with Norvell Austin. I realize that he doesn't want to get in the ring with me. He says that I'm nuts. But this whole thing started over a situation where he called somebody a coward. Well, I'm out here and I'm saying that Norvell Austin's a coward now. He's got to be a coward if he won't sign a match with me.
Look at him. A lot of people watch this TV out here. You know what? Everybody watches this TV, and he making folks think that I'm scared of him and a coward. But I ain't no coward, Steve Keirn. I ain't no coward, man. What's wrong with you? Man, you might anxious to have a match with me, ain't you? That's right. He want me to get in the ring with him. But I tell you what, I will get in the ring with you, but it's a couple of stipulations. See, I ain't going through what I went through down there last time I was, man, you crazy. You want to knock my head in. I ain't going through that no more, man. I'm too smart for that. But if you want me in the ring now, here's a stipulation for you. I get in there and wrestle you. I'll wrestle you all day long. Just as long as you don't be throwing no punches and kicking on me and things like that.
Norvell would only give him a match with the stipulation of no punching or kicking because he knows Keirn now just wants a fight and not a wrestling match. During the rematch, Norvell spit on Keirn, which would make Keirn punch Norvell and get disqualified.
Clean break. Referee steps in between them. Uh-oh. Forget it. Keirn spit, got Norvell spit right in his face, and Keirn slapped him in the head. You spit in his face.
I just came out here and I let my mouth override my butt. I'll tell you that. I can't believe I fell for that. I can't stand to get spit on. I don't know anybody out there watching who want to be spit in the face. I overrode it. I overrode it by coming out here and saying that I'd go for any stipulations. But I want Norvell Austin in the ring so bad. I want to be in a match with him so bad. All right, I went for Norvell Austin stipulations, right? Why can't I have stipulations? Why can't I have my match? I want a match with Norvell Austin. I want a return match. I want a match. I don't care where it's at. I want a match, and I want my stipulations.
Eventually, Keirn would get the match he wanted against Norvell Austin. A chain match, which is basically a dog collar match with them tied together via a chain. A match Keirn would win. The Gibsons would get wins in the feud against the Midnight Express on some house shows in the early winter of 1982, but the Midnight Express would get the last laugh towards the end of the winter when they would defeat Bill Dundee and Steve Keirn for the Southern Tag Team titles. And who immediately wants a shot at the Midnight Express? No, not the Gibsons, but the First Family.
You know what? I feel so great. We finally got ourselves a title shot. I want to show you this little statue right here. This is what I think of Rose and Condrey. Now, you people out there, you're probably going, look, Jimmy Hart thinks he's smart of it. Jimmy Hart thinks he's cute and cocky. Well, you're right. I'm all of the above and more, too. We don't want any fans with us, baby, because we don't need anybody. We did everything on our own. Look at this, baby. Norvell Austin. Who does he remind you of? Buckwheat. Spanky. That's Dennis Condrey. And last but not least, look at this man right here. Alfalfa. Who is that? Randy Rose. Who is the greatest manager in the world, boys? Jimmy Hart, baby. The family. We're on our...
But there was a major problem with the Midnight Express's title win against Kern and Dundee. Despite the title change, Midnight Express won the titles via a disqualification. Because of the controversy surrounding the title change, the titles were vacated and a Southern Tag Title tournament was held. The Gibsons get their shot.
Back when Steve Keirn and Bill Dundee had the belts, we were top contenders then, and we're still top contenders now. It's the wrong way they lost the belts. They're held up. So I'm going to say one thing. This week, when we go out there, we're going to go out at 110%, and we're going to come out champions.
Plus, Jimmy Hart had 3 teams in the tournament.
You got 3 teams entered in the tournament.
Let me tell you something, man. I've been in professional wrestling 2.5 years, and this is undoubtedly the biggest card in the history of professional wrestling that I've even been associated with. But I'm going to tell you something, man. I've got 3 chances to come away with those belts. I've got the Monk and the Angel, Sweet Brown Sugar and Beautiful Bobby Eaton, and last but definitely not least, Crazy Lou Graham, and I do mean crazy, and my Dream Machine. 3 chances, man, so I can't wait to get there because one of my teams will come away with those belts, Russell.
One of Jimmy Hart's teams would win the tournament. Bobby Eaton and Sweet Brown Sugar Coco Beware would win the Southern Tag Team Championships. Hart accomplished his goal and was riding high. Jimmy Hart and the First Family even made a music video. But the main singles title, the Southern Heavyweight Championship, was escaping Jimmy Hart's First Family. One of his men, the Dream Machine, held the title in 1981, but he had lost the title to Dutch Mantel in the fall of 1981. Mantel is still the champion coming into the winter of '82. Jimmy Hart would keep getting title shots for his men against Dutch, and they would be defeated. But another man is of course in the title picture too. The most popular wrestler in Memphis at this point, Jerry the King Lawler. Unfortunately for Lawler, he had a minor injury coming into the winter, which made Dream Machine think it was his turn to try to win the title again.
You are a low-life chicken, Dutch Mantel. The only reason, boy, and I did say boy and not Leroy, the only reason that you hold on to that belt is because you will not put it up against the number 1 contender, and that is me, Jack.
Wait a minute, let me say something, Lance. I told you 10 weeks ago, you big sock-faced dog, that you are not number 1. Now, you've done a lot of things to me. You've jumped me behind the back and everything to make me mad to put the belt on the line. Well, you've only done one thing, and that's make me mad. But I don't care what it is, you're still not getting a title shot. And you are not number 1. Every time I turn around, I hear somebody saying they're number 1. You say you're number 1, you're about number 99. Jerry Lawler says he's number 1. I tell you what, if you're so big and brave, I tell you what you do. You get a match with Lawler, and you wrestle him, and whoever wins the match, I'll wrestle them, and I don't care which one wins. If you think you're number 1, and Jerry Lawler thinks he's number 1, you're both number 2 as far as I'm concerned. I'm the champion. You wrestle him, and I'll wrestle the winner. Stop.
I was watching what took place a little earlier, and I saw Dream Machine and Dutch Mantel out here talking about they want a match with Dream Machine wants a match with Dutch. Everybody wants a match with Dutch. Well, I can just say that you know, I'll play their little game if they want to. I don't know what they're trying to prove. I have a simple solution to this whole thing. I don't have any wrestling tights with me today, but it really doesn't matter. I could just kind of take my shirt off right now, and I can slide right up there in that ring, and you can get the Dream Machine, and you can get Dutch Mantel too, and bring both of them out here, Lance, and we'll all 3 get in the ring. We'll have a real quick little round-robin tournament, and let the winner of that little tournament come out with the belt. How would that be? We could put it right there. I know that I am the greatest wrestler that you've ever seen in one of these rings, and you know it, Lance, and these people know it, and the only 2 people that don't seem to know it are the Dream Machine and Dutch Mantel.
It would be Jerry Lawler that defeated Dutch Mantel for the Southern Heavyweight title. But when Dutch would get his rematch, he would win the title back.
And Dutch, I gotta say this, and I don't mean this unkindly, but I think you convinced a lot of folks something they didn't believe. A lot of them didn't believe you could beat Jerry the King Lawler.
Well, a lot of them didn't believe it, but I think they believe it now. Now, ever since I first got it back in January from the Dream Machine, or back in October from the Dream Machine, I have lived in the shadow of Jerry Lawler. Everywhere I went, they said, well, Lawler's really the champion, because he had been champion for 6 out of 10 years, but nothing is forever. Nothing is permanent. And finally, when I got a chance to get a match with Jerry Lawler, I wanted to dispel all doubts, and I got that chance, and I told everybody that I was going to beat him, and here it is, living proof that I am now the Southern Heavyweight Champion.
And I want to prove once and for all that I can beat Lawler every time I get in the ring with him. Now, I'm going to give him credit. He's a very good wrestler. He's a very smart wrestler, and he's got a lot of experience just like I do. And when you get us together, it's not like you're getting two rookies in the ring, because I know my way around the squared circle, and they don't call me Dirty Dutch Mantel for nothing, because I earned the name. I worked long and hard, cried blood, and drove 1 million and flew 1,000,000 miles to get where I am today, and I intend to stay there. Lord, I'm going to give you one more shot, and one shot only, to prove that you can beat me, but I don't think in your heart that you can beat me. I know you can't beat me, and I think the fans don't believe you can beat me.
When Lawler gets another shot, he loses again, and Lawler is fairly depressed about the losses and really thinking about his career.
And for those 10 years, I've been pretty much in control of the situation. Been the champion for 6 out of the 10 years. Been able to call on the shots, who I wanted to wrestle, when I wanted to wrestle. And it's a good situation to be in. It's really come to a point where I'm not in that situation now. And I went against Dutch, and the first time I went against him, I won the title back. But I've had 2 matches with him since that time, and I haven't won either one of them.
Lawler just wants one more shot, or he is washed up.
Now, there comes a point in especially every athlete's life, that you have to sit down and take a good hard look at yourself. And I can tell you that I've had a good career. And I've met a lot of great people, a lot of great fans that have loved me, and I love them all in return. But I've never been in a situation where I've wrestled a man 2 times going after something that I wanted more than anything else, and wasn't able to come away with it. And I realize that I haven't said a lot of good things about Dutch Mantel, but I'll start right now. Dutch Mantel is a good wrestler. He's a fine wrestler. But most of you people realize that I don't usually say good things about my opponent. That's just my style. But like I said, there comes a time in every athlete's life that he has to take a look at himself and realize that nobody can go on forever. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm 32 years old, and I've had a good career. So what I'm just saying is that I want one more shot at the title. One more title match with Dutch Mantel. And I'm going to have that match. And if I don't walk out of the ring with the belt, if I don't regain my Southern Heavyweight title, then I'm going to wish Dutch Mantel well. And I'm going to go home, and I'm going to face the fact that maybe it's time to set myself some new priorities.
Jerry Lawler would defeat Dutch Mantel controversially with Dutch's foot on the rope.
But his foot was on the rope. The referee couldn't see it. Lawler, the winner. Here comes Jimmy Hart. Bobby Eaton, Sweet Brown Sugar, what are they doing here?
And after the match, Lawler would get attacked by the First Family.
23-50, the undisputed Southern Heavyweight champ. Mantel looks at him and walks out of the ring. So the First Family pounding away on Lawler, and Mantel has left the wrestling area. All right. Wait a minute. Well, you all just stay back now. Let's not
Don't run off, big man. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Hey, look, I want to talk to you. I'm on my knees. Let me ask you something, big boy. I hear so much hot air out here, but I want to ask you something. Why don't you come with the family? You need to be with the family, man. This is 1982, Dundee. 82. Jimmy.
All right, Jimmy. Let's get some help out here, can we?
Man, they're going to call him Dr. Hook when this is over.
Okay. Can we get somebody out here to help us stop this thing? Here comes Lawler. Another cheap, lousy shot by the First Family. 4 of them jumping on Bill Dundee. The King
Good after day.
Is that all the introduction I get?
Well, I could spend a little time on it, Jerry.
With this hanging over my shoulder, that's all the introduction you
The
get.
Southern Heavyweight Champion, Jerry the King Lawler.
Thank you. Of all the introductions I've ever heard, that was certainly the most recent.
Lawler thinks he has a solution to the Jimmy Hart problem.
I was also very successful at another time in my career when I only had to worry about my opponent, and I had a guy named Jimmy Hart sitting in my corner, right?
I remember that well.
That's right. See, that is an advantage because you only have to think about the man that you're wrestling. You don't have to worry about a guy like Hart running around the ring and jabbing you with a stick and doing things like that, and that is an advantage. And so that is the reason that I made a couple of telephone calls the last couple of days, and I talked to a man that's gone through a similar situation that I went through with Jimmy Hart.
He brings back one of the wrestlers that used to be managed by Jimmy Hart in the Nightmares. Nightmare Danny Davis. Both Lawler and Davis hate Jimmy Hart.
His name is Danny Davis, that's right. Now, I'm not asking anybody out here right now to come over here and welcome Danny Davis with open arms because I know he's done a lot of things that you people didn't like in the past. Well, I was the same way at one time. All Danny Davis is going to have to do now is prove himself. But you see, Jimmy Hart tried to get rid of Danny Davis.
I don't expect the people who, accept me. I've got to prove myself to them. I think I will be able to prove myself to Jerry Lawler because he had trust enough in me to call because he knows what I'm going through with Jimmy Hart. He knows that I hate his guts just like he hates his guts because it's just like he said, when Jimmy Hart is through with you, brother, he's through with you, he'll throw you on the floor and he'll stick his foot right in your face. I've only been on one side of the fence, and that's the side of the fence that Jimmy Hart has been on. And they always say the grass is greener on the other side. Well, you're giving me a chance to find out that it is.
He is not going to be in my corner to do the things like Jimmy Hart does. He is not going to be in there to try to do any kind of harm at all to my opponent. He is going to be there to offset people like Kenny Shane and Jimmy Hart, and that is exactly what we need around here, baby.
Well, you've got my word. Last person, I'm telling you, you've got my word, Jerry Lawler. As a man and a gentleman, I will not turn my back on you.
But Lawler also had a problem with Dutch Mantel just up and leaving when Lawler was getting attacked by the First Family after their match.
Lawler, you got a big fat mouth, brother. I'm gonna tell you, why should I help you? I don't see what you got to be so hot about. You got the Southern Belt. Now, I didn't contract to fight your battles. Now, I didn't make all these enemies that you made. Now, you might swerve some people into thinking you're a king, but you ain't swerving me, Jack.
Lawler thinks Dutch is a coward.
Now, you came out here and you ran me down, and not once did you say I was a good wrestler, did he, Lance? Not once did you say I was a good wrestler. Not once did you say that I was a good competitor. You said a lot of things, a lot of insults, and a lot of accusations. Now, you may not have been listening to what I said before. I want to wrestle you for this belt, but I want to do it on my time, my terms. Now, you can't psych me out because I've been down the road before, and I know how to chase a champion. But you're not psyching me out, and when it gets ready for the time, when I feel the time is right, I'm going to come back after it, Lawler. How long is it going to take? What's the time going to be? You're right. I didn't say you was a good wrestler. I said you're a coward, Dutch Mantel. I said you're yellow. I said you're chicken to get in the ring with me. Okay, Lawler. You a shot at this belt, and you won't take it. You know why? You know why you won't take it? The same reason you showed on that film. You didn't want to jump in there and help me because you were afraid those guys would kick your butt. And you're afraid I'll kick your butt. That's why you won't get in the ring with me. I'm going to say one more thing. Let me say one more thing. I said I wanted to be a friend of yours. Win, lose, or draw. But you made that impossible. Not me, Lawler. You made it impossible. Not me, Jack. And I'm not going to sit out here in front of 350,000 people and let you run me down. You're not going to wrestle me because you're a coward.
The Southern Heavyweight title back and forth between Lawler and Mantel was going from respectful to heated.
Coward. Sit down and listen to it. All you got to do is take your part.
Hey, come on, Jerry. All right, Jerry. Now knock it off. Hey, come on, you guys. Get him out of there. Get him out, please. All right. Hey, Jerry, just get on out of here. Jerry, just now, come on. Just save it. There's no point in that.
Okay. Lawler, I'm going to be the last man you ever slapped, Jack. I'm going to tell you, you want the match? You got it, head balling.
Put it on the card, buddy. I'm coming after you, Lord. I'm going to be the last man you ever slept